Hey everybody, Jimmy with the Triple C Collective here for another Superhero Saturday. Today we're going to be diving into Miss Marvel, Episode 4, Seeing Red. I gotta say, man, Miss Marvel has just been awesome. It has been just such a fun show to watch, week in and week out. Doing the double time there with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Miss Marvel was a lot of fun as well, but I'm really excited. This show's just been so much fun. It's just been so cool. I love everything that they're doing with it. I think all the performances have been really great. I think all of the action and stuff has been really great. It's just been a really great show overall. But to jump into it, in episode 4 here, where we travel to Karachi. Here we get to we go on the plane ride with her mom, which is kind of which is interesting because Kamala is grounded obviously from the events of ruining her brother's wedding, which she still hasn't obviously told her parents everything about the jinn and them and the clandestines or any of that stuff. So that conversation, that back and forth on the plane ride is really funny. Oh, I thought she forgot how to speak except for asking for Canada Dry, and it's unless the rules of grounding don't apply in international waters. it's uh it's like a perfect it's like a perfect high school comeback like that. I just found that to be just so funny. On the other side, her mom's like, all right, let's call a temporary truce here. We're going to see family and stuff. Let's be civil and everything. We also get Kamala here also texting Nakia, trying to see what's wrong with her, or not what's wrong, trying to see if she can talk with her, figure out, let her know what's going on and everything. She didn't want to keep, Nakia necessarily on the outside. She just went with, Bruno. I don't know, Bruno's just the tech guy. So yeah, but getting no response, getting kind of ghosted by, not necessarily ghosted by Nakia. She's just not responding. Um, they uh, they land the plane. We meet her cousins. We meet her nanny for the first time, aside from just really close up on on a FaceTime call or whatever, video call or whatever. Uh, her nanny is insulting her Kamala's mother. Are you on one of those strange diets? Your skin's very dry. Uh, it's just an odd greeting to give your child when you haven't seen him for a long time, I guess. Whatever. They get to their house and they have a great drive through of the city. At night, you get to see a bunch of different bridges and all of these things. It was really cool to see. I thought it was just a sweet little little montage of getting through it. And then they arrive at the house. The house is a huge house and everything. Her mom, Kamala's mom, uh, uh, she she's just this could yeah, it's really nice. It's an awesome house, but it could still use a paint job. And her mom and her go back and forth a little bit about that. Kamala finds is looking for her room, but ends up finding the room that her grandmother does all of her painting and drawing and pictures and stuff in, and it's really great. It's really cool stuff. Walking through there, she's doing all kinds of different arts and creative outlets and stuff in there. It's really awesome. Once they uh, once Kamala's in there kind of looking around, her grandma walks in and is like, "Oh yeah, we lost so much in the partition and everything that I felt I needed. I felt I was the only one who could, create recreate what some of our art and things and stuff was. So she just started doing it, um, which is really cool. I'm sure it was probably very therapeutic in a lot of ways. Could have hurt a little bit too, like trying to relive some of that stuff. But like again, the art that they have up there is great. So it's like awesome. It was really awesome to see, and it's also really awesome to see the connection of like the art and the drawing and the creativity that that her grandma has, and that we see Kamala have. And it's interesting because a little bit later on in the episode, we get a conversation with her between the grandma and mom, and that kind of explains a little bit about why the mom is a little less like I don't know, for lack of a better word, like artsy and drawing and all that kind of stuff. But we'll get there. And so Kamala just straight up asks, like after they talk about the paintings and like why she was doing them and everything, Grandma, like why'd you send me the bangle? Is it because you think that I'm Jinn? Yeah, we all are. It's genetics. But the last time that one was used, it saved me. And we've seeing the same train from that night, like, or Kamala asks, like, the train that we saw in our vision, is it the same train from that night? Grandma's like, yeah. And her grandma's like, once we saw that train, I knew you needed to be here with me in order to figure out everything that we're seeing and what's happening and all of that. And Kamala's like, well, I feel like I'm really kind of overwhelmed here. I'm ruining things more so than I feel that I'm helping. Feel that, like, I'm breaking way more than I fixed. And then her grandma, like, does the, like, really sweet grandma thing of, like, like, when you live like I have, lost like I have, and, found what I have, there's, like, beauty in, like, picking up those pieces, though, and putting them back together. And so she's just trying to be like, it's gonna be a struggle, but like through that struggle, like you'll be able to find it. You'll be able to find some beauty or some like positivity from it, basically. And so that's really great. That's always really awesome having I don't know, my grandma was really like that. So like I really loved seeing this and like this whole scene and everything like that. Then Kamala's like in her bed, and she's like writing or whatever, trying to like investigate, I guess, or whatever. She falls asleep. We have this really awesome like dream sequence flashback of like all the events from the previous 3 episodes and stuff, and then she's woken up by like her mom, because their people are just saying like Kamala, 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 Kamala. And so it's like her mom and her cousins, and it's her mom and her cousins come in there, and her male cousin is like, whoa, I didn't know you were in here with someone. And Kamala's like, it's a sleeping pillow. And they're like, yeah, whatever. And her mom's like, hey, don't be weird. Let's just go out and eat. Like, we came here to visit, so like, let's visit. Then they get to the lunch place, and like where they're gonna eat. They're sitting outside. Kamala wears jeans, but they had a no jeans policy, so that's why they're eating outside in like the heat and everything. Everyone's complaining, and it's really funny. Her cousins are like, we can take you to like go buy something a little less controversial. Their aunt shows up, and it's just a nice little like meeting there with everyone. And actually Kamala finds out that her mom did not like, Kamala is not a common Pakistani name, and that her mom was a little bit of a rebel, which is interesting because we see her mom being so like straight and like so like by the book and everything. So it's just interesting. it's just interesting to hear that. But I'm sure every kid, when they hear like, oh yeah, your parents did something stupid once in their life, it's always like, oh, really? It's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sure they did. I'm sure they did. So they get to the market strip in the old town, and here her cousins are like, oh my, like the one cousin was like trying to direct him around where to go, and then her app stopped working. The other cousin, he's like, hey, see these, like this is where the oldest residents in like old town in like Karachi live. And Kamala's like, oh, like Florida. And he's like, no, like they were the first refugees to come over from India after the partition. And that was cool to see that, but like that definitely hit like Kamala in a different way than like being like, oh, like it's like Florida, where that's just a very very funny joke. Uh, and then we get like again a quick, not like a quick little montage, like we stay with different vendors and stuff, seeing different people buying things. We also see Kamala negotiating different prices and stuff for things. uh, then we get like the like her cousin insults her and is like in ABCD, like an American born something something something. I forget exactly what it was. And Kamala's like, yeah, I know what it means. And like they're like, all right, let's go meet our friends for coffee. And let's go meet our friends for coffee. And Kamala's like, well, I kind of wanted to go to the train station, you know. That's the first place. It was like the gateway where Nani came here and how she got here and everything. So like I kind of wanted to see that as like being here for the first time. And they were like, both of her cousins were like, pass, we'll see you we'll see you later, we'll meet up once you're done with that. She finds the Kamala walks away. She goes to another vendor who is very unhelpful with her, and like is like, go to the left here and then take another left and then a small right, and it's like, what? And he's just giving terrible directions. But she finds the train station eventually. So maybe he actually gave great directions. I don't know. But it seemed like he didn't know what he was talking about, that little vendor guy. But anyhow, she gets to the train station. She's walking around, sees people coming and going, entering and like coming off different trains. And then she sees there's a portion that's like blocked off, under construction. So she kind of she kind of moseys on over there, puts on her mask, and she goes and goes into this like blocked off train station part. And as she's walking through, daggers are thrown at her, and she uses like her Noor light and stuff to block it. And it's a red mask attacker, and he's like, I sense the Noor. I finally found you. And he also makes fun of her outfit, and she's like, wow, nobody just likes the outfit. Okay. They're running and jumping around. She's like, where'd you learn to jump like that, Ninja Turtles? And he's like, where'd you learn, Donkey Kong? What are you? They're going back and forth like, what are you? Who are you? The guy in the mask, the red mask, he is asking like, where'd you get that bangle? How'd you get it from Aisha? And he's like, and Kamala's like, wait, how do you know my grandma? And since they've been going back and forth doing all these like action hero, or not even action hero, but just doing all of these like I don't know, references and stuff to like video games, and like he does a really great one of like come with me if you want to live, and Kamala's like, what? And he's like, I'm just joking, I've just always wanted to say that. And it plays it like, I laughed so hard at that, because it's really funny. I enjoyed it at least. I thought it was great. So as they leave the train station and everything, the guy in the mask leads her to a restaurant. They leave some money with a waitress. They pick up a big bag of food. They go into the back kitchen, and she's like, "Oh, what are we just kind of hanging out here or whatever?" And he's like, "You got to be a little bit more perceptive, look a little bit better with your eyes." And then he does the thing, and one of the grills pushes back and opens up a secret entryway, and that's where they go. And this is where we get. He tells her about the red dagger. Like she makes a joke, like as they're walking back there, she's like, "Are you gonna murder me? Because I really don't want to be the subject of a true crime doc." That's really that's awesome, awesome joke right there. He says like, "Welcome to the Red Daggers." Open your eye, like you can open your eyes and like see what's around you here. And she's like, wait, Red Daggers, what is that? Are you guys like a boy band or something?" And he's like, no, it's something a little bit different. They enter the actual hideout of the Red Dragon, of the Red Dagger, and it's got all of these awesome like marble pillars and stuff all around it, bunch of maps and like all kinds of different artifacts all around this room. And it was really cool to see. It was really great to see. I really liked it. I just liked the look of this place. Like it was just cool looking. To be there. And Kamala makes the joke about like hideout game on point here. And then we get the Red Dagger being like, "Well, usually tourists aren't allowed, but then another guy comes in saying like, "Well, the descendant of Aisha, like we'll make an exception." He's like, "My name's Waylon. When you are ready, we will discuss this. For now, like, let's eat." They're eating hot and sour soup. In the hot and sour soup, Kamala's like, "Why is it so red?" And the red dagger is like, "That's what it's supposed to be. That's the color it's supposed to be. Don't tell me like you're used to the whitewashed like Chinese food too, or whitewashing Chinese food too in America." And I just also laughed at that. I have no idea. I've never had hot and sour soup, so I have no idea what it's supposed to look like. But I just found that very funny. Um, and then Kamala's response, though, is equally great, asking if the Red Dagger had a hard time finding a long enough scarf to cover his big mouth. And Waylon kind of jumps in there a little bit to defend the Red Dagger, being like, the people who've worn the person who wears that scarf, the Red Dagger, has worn it for hundreds of years to protect the identity, protect the people from unseen unseen forces, evils, that kind of thing. And Kamala's like, clandestines, like Jinn, and Waylon's like, the ones that are here now are not like the ones of the stories and stuff that you heard before. Like, if Thor lands in the Himalayas, he's a Jinn. That's like what Waylon's saying, and it's an interesting perspective of how to explain like this magic portion of it. Basically, is like this. They call it the Noor, and like it gives them like some sort of powers and stuff like that. But like compared to like Thor and everything, who is like an Asgardian god, he would also just be seen as we've also kind of like thought on Earth and like with mythology and stuff, just kind of like magic for that stuff, as opposed to, as Thor's always said, what you guys call like magic and myth, we call science here in Asgard. So it's just a matter of perspective from a certain point of view, if you will. And so it's awesome. I love seeing it, and I love that comparison of like Thor and stuff, of just like kind of setting up like who the clandestines, and who like other jinns are and stuff. It's really great. They move to the like Wayland starts moving to the map of the worlds, which is a really cool thing because the like first there's just like a plain like just piece of paper kind of map, and then he flips a light and then it shows like these other like kind of like portal things over it, and then they move to like a 3D printed one, something very similar that we're used to seeing in like Iron Man with like Jarvis and being like, hey, let me throw a scale up there, or let me throw that up there, and then boop, 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 move things around. So that's what this kind of is that we see here is the world, and then we see the Nor Veil, they call it, that separates Earth from the dimension with the Jinn and all of those beings and everything. And so, you know, what Wayland explains is that if we punch a hole through it, then it will spill into our world, consuming our world, and then it's all gone. And then then the that other dimension like lives while we die or whatever. And so that's what Wayland and the Red Dagger and all of that are trying to do, is to protect it, to make sure that keep the make sure that our world continues to live. And it's interesting. It's cool. It's cool. Like, I really like this because I know originally that like her or Kamala's origin is really tied into like the Inhumans and like the Terrigenesis mist and stuff. I really like this that they're doing with it. Like, as somebody who like I didn't read a whole bunch of like Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan Miss Marvel previous like at all, like not even just specifically in preparation for the show, but just like in general. I really like this. I think that this is a really, really cool way to do it, and it's also a really unique way to also connect her to the cosmics for like the Marvels like movie and stuff. But it's also a way for her to like kind of stand on her own and like be unique in this way. Like, I don't know, I really like it. But as they're talking about that, she's wearing the bangle, and Wayland's like, "Whoa, I never knew there's an inscription on there." And like Wayland's like, "In all of the books and all of the material and all of the everything that I've ever read or seen about the bangle, I have never seen or heard that there is an inscription on the bangle." And Kamala's like, "Well, can you read it for me?" And he reads it. "What you seek is seeking you," is what the inscription says. And she's like, "Is that important?" And he's like, "Just, someone, it could be. I don't really know." We get a cut to Department of Damage Control. We get the other, the clandestines breaking out. Cameron is like kind of hurt and he's like stumbling, and then he finally kind of comes to there at the end of the breakout, and his mom, Najma, is like, "No, leave him." And he's like, "Ami, what? Like, what? You're just gonna leave me here?" And she's like, "He made his choice. We have to go get the bangle." Now we're back at Kamala's family's home. She's walking in. She sees her Nani, and is like, "Nani," and her Nani is like, your mother's cleaning. She's on a rampage downstairs. I just needed a break, and I just wanted to be, you found my space, my quiet place." And she asked, "Did you find what you were looking for?" Almost like, "I got a bit of an education," and Hernani's like, "Well, at my age, I'm still trying to figure out who I am." The passport says um, uh, Pakistan. Her heart says India, and that there's this huge border marked in like blood and pain. And she's like, how do I deal with that? How does one like learn to deal with that? And Kama was like, do you ever think you will figure it out? And her grandma's like, what's the rush? You know, it's part of her life's journey to figure that out. And that was like a fantastic scene here between Kamala and her grandma. This was really great. I really love that. And then she gets the text message from the red dagger and goes to the bonfire. I believe he's called Chemo. And you know they have a biryani out of a bag. It's supposedly the best meal that they ever had. And Kamala likes it, but she also asks the question if it is spicy, which I guess is a silly question in according to this dish, because I have no idea what it is. But I mean, it looked good. I mean, if it tasted good, you know, that's even better, obviously. Uh, but this is what I was talking about. After the bonfire, we get a cut back to Kamala's family home here, and we get the Nani and her mom scene. And this was a pretty big scene. Like, this was important to see and have here because we get, you know, Kamala's out with her cousins. You know, it's just you and me. And, you know, Kamala's mom is like, why is all this stuff everywhere? Papers, toffee boxes. Like, why is all this stuff all over the place? Like, why aren't you keeping your house clean and everything? And, you know, Nani's like, hey, the toffees are for you. I remember you used to like them, so I kept them around in case if you ever came back. You know, and then they both sit down, and then they start having a real conversation. Kamala's mom starts like massaging her Kamala's grandma's like leg because it's like hurt or whatever and like sore, and you know she rubs the leg, and then Moon Munima asks you know, Kamala's mom to, or Kamala's grandma to, you know, come to America. Like, maybe it's time you come to America. And like Nani's like, I thought you moved all the way across the world to get away from me and stay away from me. And you know, Munimba is like, I needed a change. I was starting to get, you know, shunned by the neighbors because of my crazy mother and her wild theories. They both start speaking in God, did the subtitles say Yurdi maybe? And her grandma is like, nope, it's not true. It's not true. And Kamala's mom's like, no, it is true. It was true. And Kamala's mom, even after Baba left, you know, you're still clinging to your crazy wild theories. And, you know, and her mom is like, and Kamala's Nani is like, I just thought I'd share, you know, our family stories. And Kamala's mom's like, I needed a mother, not my mother's stories, not our family stories. And Kamala, you know, gets home and kind of cuts that tension there a little bit. But it was really great for them to have that conversation. It'll also be really interesting to see if we get Kamala's like grandma like moving to America and everything. Maybe not. But we her once Kamala gets home, her mom is sitting in the kitchen eating the toffees. And like Kamala's like, "Are you okay? Like, like you seem a little off or something?" And Mom's like, "Here, have a toffee." And Kamala almost breaks a tooth basically because she's like, "Oh, how are you eating these? These are so like, oh, how are you doing this?" And it's extremely like that whole scene right there is just so funny with the toffee there. And then we get a cut back to the red dagger. I guess I'll call it the red dagger training. And the red dagger training is where Wayland is like kind of walking her through Noor and a little bit of the history and all of that stuff because it doesn't necessarily make sense how she's able to like create that stuff necessarily, and it has to clearly do something. The fact that she is both has the Noor like light in her genes but is also very clearly of like human, like her dad is probably very much so like human, whereas the Noor is coming from her mom's side. um and so yeah, he says it could be something with your genetics that kind of like that it shaped you and linked you to this world. It makes you like unique in this. You have no fancy armor, you have nothing like that. But he does hand her a basically like a long almost vest kind of thing. I don't know how I would really else describe it other than if you've seen the promotional. I think this is where it comes. If you've seen like the promotional pictures of Miss Marvel, either where she's like, I think it's like sitting down on the lamppost, maybe it's like the top of like an apartment building or whatever, but she's sitting there and then she's got her blue like vest that comes like down her a little bit, and then she has like the red undersuit underneath it. I believe it's that blue thing there is what she just gets handed here. Or it'll eventually work its way into that. And Wayland's like, you don't have any fancy armor, but there's history in every thread of this, so you're not alone. I, and then she's like, Kamala does ask, she's like, am I a red dragon now? And they're just like, this suits you and stuff. But then we get the surprise Ariel breaking in through the sunroof, whatever you want to call it, by the other clandestines. And they are trying to take out Kamala, trying to get the bangle back. Because at this point, like, she wasn't like, she was like, hey, like, I'll help you, but I need to do it on like my terms, like figure it all out. And Najma was like, no, we need to do this now. You're just gonna rip and roar, baby, rip and roar, let's just do it. And they're like, and Kamala was like, no, well, Bruno's gonna help me and we need calculations. So she wasn't all about that. Wayland's like, hey, get her out. So Red Dagger and Miss Marvel are booking it out of there. Smoke bombs go off, fill the room with smoke. They're on the other side of like glass. One of the clandestines is banging his way through it as Kamala and Red Dagger are waiting. I don't know why they aren't just running. Like that, I guess they're waiting to see if what eventually happens. Wayland jumps through the glass and they all three leave. I don't know why they stayed so long, but hey, whatever. They run through, so Wayland runs through the glass, and then they escape. Then we get the city streets, like, escape running about and all of this stuff, and it's awesome. They eventually get themselves into, like, a little motor car kind of thing. It's, like, two-seaters in the front, and then it has, like, a hitch kind of thing in the back. So Wayland's in the back on that. We've got Kamala and Red Dagger in the front seat. And then we've got all the clandestines, the rest of the Jinns coming to come in, getting different cars and vehicles, like trying to attack them. Two of them get like right behind them and start wedging them to where then they're like driving like this, basically. Like here's Kamala, Miss Marvel, and like Red Dagger and Wayland, and then here's the clandestines, and it's just like it's great stuff because Kamala then throws a ramp up there, and they like she kicks them like kicks her vehicle and Red Dagger and Wayland's vehicle off of the clandestines vehicle, and it is just so great. It's just so great and awesome that we see that, because then they kind of crash, but they're able to like get out of there right away. Wayland breaks off of himself, or like breaks his little like cart off to try and get it, but it still doesn't help because Kamala and Red Dagger still get like cornered up by like 3 different cars, and they crash and like flip off of it. Kamala is able to toss out some of her Norlight to give them a little bit of a smoother landing, safer landing at least. They like once they're crashed, Wayland starts running one way. A couple of them go. A couple of them stay with the Red Dagger and Kamala. They're kind of like trapped a little bit, but Kamala is their Red Dagger and Kamala split. Wayland leads the other ones away, and then Kamala is able to escape her clandestine that's chasing after her. She takes over a truck. Red Dagger gets cornered by a clandestine or two. Kamala takes out the clandestine that's cornering Red Dagger. Red Dagger and Kamala are able to leave. They're running down a hallway. Wayland and Najma are running on rooftops. Wayland does this awesome like throwing dagger thing where he throws 2 daggers. He runs, jumps off, grabs it, and pulls himself up. It was just like a really great, like awesome parkour kind of shot. It was so cool. That whole like rooftop chase scene is really great. This whole ending chase scene has been really excellent in so many different ways. I just love it. It's just so cool and so great. But Wayland saves, like gets some distance between Najma and himself, is able to take 2 daggers, throw them at the clandestine that's chasing after Kamala and after Red Dagger, and so that clandestine's dies. But man, Wayland gets it in the back. Najma stabs him. It's awful. Stabs him in the back, then throws him off the roof, and then he falls right in front of Kamala and Red Dagger there. It was very reminiscent of, if you guys are fans of Martin Scorsese and The Departed. Spoilers coming up right now for The Departed. 3, 2, 1. When Martin Sheen is thrown off the roof and just splats right there. That's what this kind of reminded me of. A lot smaller of a distance, and that's probably why there was... Never mind. We don't need to get into that. But that's what that reminded me of right away, and so that was really sad. I really liked Wayland. Kind of wish we could have gotten more maybe of him, but I guess like we got what we got. That's cool. I mean, this is episode 4 as well, so like we're already 2/3 of the way through this series. So we've only got 2 more episodes left. So it's really interesting to like kind of give this guy his time in this episode, really, and that's really it. But either way, they're running back and forth now. Kamala and Red Dagger run into like a clothes shop, basically a garment factory or whatever. We get the clandestines versus Kamala and Red Dagger, and it's a good fight. It's a great fight of them all jumping around and like getting tossed around. Eventually, Najma though just like comes in and stabs the bangle. And then we get this like rip through time almost kind of like space. It kind of looked like even rips similar to what we saw in No Way Home with Doctor Strange and everything like that. So it was weird. But we saw these like rips in time and space, and then it's like Kamala's transported back to Partition the night that the train leaves, heading to Karachi. She's walking around, she's getting on top of the train and everything, and like she's trying to find herself. She gets her, or she's trying to like get her bearings and everything, trying to find out what train she trying to find out if she can find her family. Maybe this is where she gets the answers from Aja about everything that happened with. Like, whoa, this was cool. This was really awesome, and this is also basically where this episode ends. Because again, like there's that rip in time and space, and then this is where it is. She's just walking around. Eventually, she gets on top of a train. Kamala does, and she's looking around. We get some awesome like fade out music and stuff here, and that's it. So now let me say this episode was amazing. I freaking loved this episode so much. The fight scenes were so great in it. The chase scenes were really awesome in it as well. Like it was just really fun. It was just so good, so awesome. And one thing I will say though, like I love looking forward to this show every week, and I was so disappointed. I woke up early on Tuesday thinking it was Wednesday, trying to watch it early, and I was so disappointed. So I was really excited on Wednesday when this episode popped. This has been a great time. I love watching Ms. Marvel. Ms. Marvel has been a really fun time, a really great show. I am Jimmy with the Triple C Collective. I want to thank you all for joining me here on Superhero Saturday. I hope you all stay safe. Have a great day.